smells really weird. Don't know why. Don't know why.
Cool. Okay, thank you. I might sit on a cushion.
You're good. I think you're about halfway up the frame, so yeah, you sit on another cushion. With that can be good. Then you'll look disproportionately taller than me.
Oh my gosh, right. Well. We're back again because last time I was an idiot and we did all this yesterday.
This is really burning my lips. I'm getting deja vu. I feel like I've been here before, but slightly a different angle.
We were just in that corner last time and now we're in this corner.
Now we're here.
Tim, you've got some cool things in the pipeline.
I have indeed.
To do with football, to do with women and to do with music. Yes. So let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that. The Senna Cup coming Saturday, 3rd of August, 6 p.m, Sutton Coldfield Town FC. It's going to include a load of your favourites, Riscus, the Novus, Violet, the Claws, and many others, myself included, and Kate on Team Media, all competing for the coveted prize of being the Senna Cup champion. And it is all for Safe Gigs for Women, which is why we're here today. Exactly.
So yeah, Safer Gigs for Women, it's a massive cause. I go to gigs a lot. Obviously, You're so heavily involved in the music scene.
It's my life.
It is your life, that's all you do. But there's an issue, right? Because kind of underneath all of that glamour and the fun, the excitement, there's something pretty sinister going on that needs to be addressed.
I think I said this in an interview I did with Lee Sanders, shout out Lee Sanders at Express and Star, that Safer Gigs for Women, sadly, in 2019, gigs are not safe for women. Like, I was recently at a Fever 333 gig with my girlfriend, and they're an amazing band who take a really strong anti-sexual harassment stance. They, every single gig, tell the crowd not to, disrespect women's bodies, to respect their personal space. But my girlfriend was groped at one of these gigs, and it was like in the second song, and it happened right in front of me, and I didn't even see it happen. So I just think it's an endemic issue, and then there's another level to the kind of prejudice and the harassment that women face in music, which is women who are actually in bands, who are making music, then getting exploited, taken advantage of, predated on by, promoters and people in power who are able to just take advantage of them. And this is, I really wanted to do something that kind of puts out a positive message to say, this isn't okay, to whichever people think it is, and bring people together and have a lot of fun, really.
And I want to talk about the band aspect and women in music later on. But I've even been to gigs. I've had friends who have gone to gigs. I've been going to gigs since 14. And there have been many times when I've just felt hands all over me and I think, what on earth is going on? That is not okay. Particularly when I look underage. I think that's worrying.
It just, you're 17 now, and so you've been to gigs since you're 14, and you've had that experience, and it's shocking. I think it's just something that, as guys, you maybe take for granted because your actual fundamental experience is different. So you go to gigs and you're like, oh, what's the problem? But then this is something that separates men and women because the experience is fundamentally different, I think.
And let's talk about that because you are a lad, obviously. A lad.
Yeah, such a lad, me.
It's a lad. No, but you are a guy, and I think that's actually fantastic because whilst all the men in my life don't agree with any of this, I've never actually seen a man stand up and advocate against it as much as you do. And I think that's a really incredible thing. So why are you kind of at the forefront of this? What's inspired you to get so involved?
I don't know. I think I've always been really passionate about feminism and talking about it because for me, I've just noticed instances in society where my friends who are girls have much worse experiences of life than I do. So for me, it's always been self-evident that, we don't have full equality. And I think there are some people who get offended by that. There are some people who say that legally, there is no sexism against women anymore. They point to things like, custody of children in divorces. But what I'm talking about, the inequality I'm talking about is when I was at uni, I lived in Leamington, and there was a road that I could walk down fine, but my female friends couldn't because they'd get followed by men every single time. They'd be catcalled, they'd have things shouted at them. And something like catcalling, that is, I get so angry when I hear about it, and I feel, I've got a platform, I have a loud voice in the local music scene, and I'm quite confident talking because I've had a lot going my way at this stage, so I want to use that platform for a reason, because if you're not, then what's the point of having one,
Exactly. I mean, I've gone walking home from college even, and about 3-4 trucks will just
And
put down the window.
You're in school uniform, so you're obviously like
It's not good.
16, like probably younger than 16 even at the time, and it's just shocking, man. Like, I think that a lot of guys are very anti it because they see it as something that isn't as prevalent, but that's just because they don't experience it. And just having conversations, like talking to girls and being like, oh, what is this like for you? Often you can be like, oh, whoa, I had no idea. And it's not a case of, I don't know, trying to impose an agenda on everyone. It's just trying to make sure that everyone is fairly represented and safe to live about their life, not being bothered where they don't want to be.
Yeah, and you use that word agenda, and we did mention this yesterday actually, in this kind of current precarious political climate, to use the word feminism, to identify as a feminist, it's less straightforward as it was, I think, 50 years ago in kind of branding yourself that. Yeah. And there's a lot of debate and discussion about what it is to be a feminist. Would you identify as that?
I absolutely would. I understand that it's a very kind of divisive time, and I think the narrative of feminism, a lot of that has been claimed by people who are making these kind of montages on YouTube, like leftist feminist gets owned, and you have people like Jordan Peterson, different like academic people, you know, making them look bad. But actually, for me, feminism is just about wanting equal treatment for women and men, and I've already given examples as to why that isn't present currently. And it's easy to get entrenched in your views online, but really, you know, people who are feminists, they're not trying to say kill all men. Like, they're just saying like, this is the existing inequality. These are ways in which women are unfairly treated, like catcalled, followed on the streets, harassed online, DMs, dick pics. These are things that we need to combat, and these are things as guys we need to stand up and say, you know, this isn't okay. So, exactly.
So let's bring it back to music, because this is what you're doing right now. The Senna Cup is two things really. It's going to be a fun day where everybody finds out which band in Birmingham is the best at playing football, but it's also about raising awareness to make sure that gigs are safe for women. So you mentioned kind of people in the industry kind of exploiting particularly other band members, would you say female band members?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, like without going into too much detail, I think, you know, we don't have representation of women in the indie scene in Birmingham as much as you would expect. And I think a big part of that is due to an atmosphere that is inherently hostile, because I think girls in bands are quite fetishized. Like, there's an article written about Erin from the Cosmics, and that's going to be a hostile atmosphere. I think girls, you know, there's like a prevalent opinion, a subconscious one, not something that people talk openly about, but like you see girls at gigs and some people think, oh yeah, they're just there to like try and get with the guys, and that means that they're treated a certain way where guys would just be left alone to do their thing and supported without their sexuality being brought into it. And there's loads of really talented women in the scene. A lot of them take photos, and that's great, and some are in bands, and just want to support that. Like.
I mean, a few years ago I got interviewed actually by an Indonesian blog, and they were asking me about what I thought about female representation in the music industry. I just got back from Why Not Festival, incredibly muddy weekend, but it was fantastic. And I saw for the first time The Big Moon. Have you heard of them?
No.
You should listen to them, they're incredible. They're a four-piece female kind of indie band, and they were one of the best bands that I'd seen the whole weekend. They were just incredible, and in the interview I did a few years back, I did say that I did think there was a lack of female representation. Over the past few months I have seen an increase, would you agree?
Definitely. You look at bands like Antaros, I think they're really pushing for it, like Laura Hayden as a frontwoman. I've seen them a few times, and what I love is she always gets like the girls up on stage to dance with them, and that's a really great way of just making a gig a safe space for women. And I think she's, you know, a far greater person than I could ever be for that, but big respect to her for it. Like bands like Yonica, Blocks getting signed, and Churches. Laura Mayberry takes so much shit, but she just keeps on and is like unapologetic about the very right points she makes. So I think it is getting better, but you look at, you know, festival posters, and I'm sure we've all seen viral tweets where they take off every band that doesn't have a woman in it, and it's or they take off every band that doesn't have a woman in it, and it's empty. So we still got a way to go, but right direction.
Exactly, and this is what the tournament is all about. And I've never seen anything like this before in all the different music scenes that I've dappled in or whatever. I think this is a really unique and great idea. So let's talk more about that tournament. First of all, we did say this yesterday as well, I'm going to ask it again. The most important question of the whole interview, Who is going to win?
Couldn't possibly say. Okay, if I'm a betting man at this stage, Riskus were the band who were kind of the driving force behind this. Like, the first time I mentioned the idea to George, he leaped at it. And they actually play five-a-side themselves. And they won last year when I was doing something that wasn't really the Senna Cup, but it was a five-a-side. They came through. There's a bit of a beef because Fundo Art, who's doing Team Rap this year, I think they beat him 10-0. And they were literally messaging me earlier like, oh, we've just had our first training session. So most people are just like laughing about how they haven't played football in 5 years. Riskus are like getting their heads down, going for it. They've teamed up with the Assist as well. They'd be like, if I'm doing the Hunger Games, they're getting the 10 or whatever. They are my Katniss Everdeen. But anything can happen. It's football. And I can tell you that I've just got on my team, which is going to be Licio and Mimi Detroit, joining in with Neil from Blue Nation, who I'm told is an ex-professional footballer. And you're hopefully bringing down your mate who's pro?
If she's played for a few years, she's good.
So anything can happen. And the cool thing is we literally have no idea how good or bad everyone's going to be. And it's not going to... The idea is it's going to be fun. But inevitably, by the time you get to the semi-finals and final, it's going to be the teams that are taking it more seriously. So we shall see. I think it could get quite feisty.
Yeah, I went for my first training session with Eve, my mate. It went all right, actually. I'm still not... Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be the best on the pitch at all.
Yeah, I think the difference you realise when you see people playing football is the difference between people who have grown up with their parents kicking footballs and those who haven't. So like for me, I was never that great at football, but I just grew up kicking a football, so I know how to do it, and you never really lose that. It's like riding a bicycle. Whereas some people, like for whatever reason, especially girls, because there's a perception problem in how we see women playing football in this country, as it's like a man's sport or whatever. Just a lot of people, if they have daughters, they won't grow up kicking a football around. And it's great that some people like your friend, I'm sure, will completely, leap over those expectations and be great because of their, actual experience playing football.
And in that way, I guess you're killing two birds with one stone, really, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I'm doing anything that's too, noble or worthy of, accolades in that sense. I'm just putting on a football tournament, but it is very cool. And one thing that I really wanted to make sure is that it was mixed teams. Because I think if you're doing a tournament and you're like, yeah, this is all for safe gigs for women, but you can't play if you're a girl. And I would love that to be a case going forwards that more of these charity type games have girls playing as well. Because in my experience, if you have mixed sides, it actually works really well. Yeah,
and we just saw the Women's World Cup. Went really well. I loved watching that, actually. It was great. Yeah. And again, pushing forward, women can do it. We are doing it. Can you see the Senna Cup happening in the future, an annual thing?
Absolutely. That's my aim. And I mean, the Women's World Cup was amazing as well. I was saying to you when we did this interview before that it just leapfrogged all of my expectations. I think the semi-final England were in got 11 million views. And I've grown up, I've spent quite a lot of time down at Birmingham City Women's watching them play, and it's so amazing to see some of those players get the respect and celebration they deserve, because a lot of them even have other jobs. A lot of them are teachers and lawyers and all sorts. In terms of the long-term Senna Cup plan, this is 100% happening next year. Sutton Coldfield Town have been so amazing to me in giving me a really generous pricing model for hiring the pitch, so I'm going to make the money back just by the entry fee that the teams are paying, which is only £3 per person, so it's not too much. So that means that next year I'm already thinking about what can I do differently. I asked Jaws to do it this year, and Connor was so keen to do it, but they were playing a festival on the Saturday, so they couldn't. I really want to message JK's manager Desper and try and sort something out there, maybe like a Team Grime versus a Team Indie 11 aside. But yeah, I've just got loads of ideas, and I can only see this growing outwards. I think the enthusiasm that people show me, even the ones who can't come when I announce this, this is not something that can just be a one-off thing.
It's a support, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And we did say yesterday, and we're going to say it again, can't be repeated, one time only. Sorry to my northern lot, they will disown me. But I am proud to live in Birmingham. Yeah. And I think it's because it's such a diversity. And again, like I said yesterday, this whole tournament epitomises that. Yeah. We actually are doing something that should be ordinary, I think.
Yeah, I mean, big up you for saying that, because you can hear from her accent. She's not from Birmingham, she's not biased. But I've got a lot of love for the north. My family are from Burnley. And But you know, here in Birmingham, we're not as good at rapping ourselves, and I think that's something we're just learning now, because everyone hears the memes of like dissing the Birmingham accent, Birmingham as a city, but actually we're having a cultural renaissance here right now, and that involves music, arts, culture in its rawest form. So, you know, it's a growing city, and we're really happy to welcome people to live here from all over the country.
Yeah, like I said, whether you're Christian, a Muslim, or a crazy northerner, Birmingham is for everybody, and it's great.
Not just all over the country, all over the world, in fact, because as Kate's rightly saying, we're a diverse city, and I've spoken to so many people who've grown up in different countries and travelled around a lot, and they say that Birmingham is, you know, the one place that has made them feel welcome and at home, and I love that.
Yeah, we're proud to be from here, even though I'm just passing by, but
well,
it's a good place to pass by to. So yeah, the Tim Senna Cup is going to happen annually. It's something that's going to keep on growing, and it's for an amazing cause. So get yourselves down there.
Yep.
£4 a ticket if you buy in advance, £6 on the door. Come along, it's going to be a great laugh. Watch me fall over.
Wembley Stadium next year, boys.
So it's a matter of time. It's great, and well done, Tim. Thank you so much for. I think I speak for every woman now. Thank you for just getting on board and helping us all out. This is great. Well, thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you
again.
for talking to me again.
Again. Won't do that again. The microphone is on today.
So all good.
But anyway, thank you so much, and I can't wait to have a kick about.
Can't wait to see your face. There you go.